All right, the waiting is over. It is now time for Klonoa Door to Phantomile with Trob. Take it away.
So I am Trob.
I'm Georgia O'Keefe.
And Etral.
And this is Klonoa Door to Phantomile for the PS1. So now the first thing you...
wait. File name incentive.
Oh.
Don't just do your Japanese
Oh. Okay.
Who do we have as the winner?
All right, here we go. The winner at 1071 is Orb!
I had to reset it.
All right, that's fine.
With an exclamation mark.
We are off to good.
That's important.
All caps, exclamation
All
mark.
caps, exclamation
Big
mark.
Orb.
Does the thing even have exclamation marks? I don't even know. I'll check.
We're going to find out.
It's a silent exclamation mark.
We'll feel it. So actually, as you can see here, we're playing the NAM collection, not just a regular copy for the PS1. The reason we do that is because this happens to be the fastest version. Klonoa came out for PS1 in all the regions, and we used to use those for the runs as the fastest because that's where we were able to do the best skips. But once we discovered that we could do the skips on the PS2 version with its better load times, that's now the way we go.
All right. Got the exclamation point.
Yeah, we do. Okay, cool.
All right.
Oh boy. Okay. So we actually have an unskippable cutscene at the start. So we have to sit through that first. Now this is something that only applies to the Japanese version of the game and to extension, the NAM collection, as this is essentially just a port to the PS2 with the 5 other games on the collection that you saw earlier. And yes, you have to sit through this at the beginning.
It's an unfortunate side effect of the Japanese version, which is why we used to prefer the English version on PS1. So what a shame that this is faster, because the cutscene is not counted as part of the runtime. Time will actually start as soon as we gain control of Klonoa at the end of this cutscene, but still got a little ways to go.
Now, the reason that we used to... the versions that were faster kind of like flip-flopped a bit. Originally, it was... people used to run the original Japanese or like American release, assuming you can even get a copy for that without like getting a whole bank loan because of how expensive that is.
Yeah.
But basically, the technique that was found essentially uses... it wasn't like doable in NAM collection originally, but then we found a different skip within the same level, which was something that could be used. So it kind of flip-flopped a bit, but now we're back here.
This run has evolved a lot in just the past year and a half or so. We used to think there were no real skips or glitches or anything like that, and we found out how to clip through walls. So you'll be seeing quite a bit of that throughout the run.
Yeah, there was a French speedrunner, Balnier, who showed up in the last 2 years or so and just really went crazy with developing all these new strategies and just finding new crazy skips in such a short amount of time. So coming up pretty soon, as soon as Trob gains control of Klonoa, after the plane crashes, I guess.
Brief loading screen, and
Yes.
then yeah.
So shortly after this, time will start. All right.
Go.
All right. All right. So I'm gonna basically just go through the basic mechanics of the game since this level doesn't really have much to it. Now, Klonoa is a 2.5D platformer in where basically one of the main mechanics of the game is using the enemies who who are called moos, and there are also many types of them. Some that can fly, some that have spears, and some that are just regular. All of that, and we can use them to do many things, such as double jump. Use them as an attack essentially, and we can use them to like hit switches and open vases and stuff, which will be required in some sections.
So when Trob says this is 2.5D, it means we're just moving left, right, up, down in sort of a 2D plane, but the world is 3D. So we can throw enemies forwards and backwards, and as you're going to see right here, he's actually going to skip just a little bit to jump up to the next level instead of going all the way around, saving a few seconds, beat the first level.
Now that's an example of a plane jump. There's only a few of them, and they're all at the beginning of the game. And while I don't save enough time, they are like sort of an old technique that has been used for the most part. Now, this is okay. I didn't get that. That's not. So skip that.
The damage boost.
But in general, you'll be seeing later on that we can damage reduce a lot in this game, and ideally, you want to hit them as far to the right or left as possible, depending on the direction you go, so you can get knocked back in the direction you want to go. Now, this is the first auto-scroller. Not much really to say about this.
Yeah, I think we probably have some time for a few donations at this point.
Probably click donation, yeah.
All right, I can do that. $25 from Malachite, who says, "Can't wait for that sweet ear boy Klonoa. Good luck, Trob."
All right, so another basic thing to mention is how, like, momentum works in this game. Now, as you can see, whenever I've grabbed an enemy with my attack, I've been jumping when I grab it. Now, this is done because if I don't do that, I will lose my momentum and inevitably lose some time. Now, this is an example of cutscenes in the game. Cutscenes in the game you can usually skip them just by pressing start when you interact with like the other characters in the game, but that one you can't skip. But the ones that you can't skip, it's interesting to note that like you're invincible for that duration, so any form of like moves or anything will just go right through you. Now, this is the first boss of the game actually. It's pretty simple compared to the other bosses at least.
Yeah, just a few damage boosts through either side so that when he turns around, he can carry the Moo through.
And because this is such a damage boost heavy boss, though, we really want to be sure we go into it with full health, which is not too hard to do because the first couple levels aren't too hard. First
Nice.
boss.
That was good.
And between levels here, we make sure we play without a memory card inserted. Otherwise, it prompts us to save data every time, and that wastes a few seconds.
In fact, each level, mind you, so that time really adds up throughout the run. Now, the moves that throw spikes at you, the location of the spikes are actually random, so you basically just have to react accordingly to where they are.
Yeah, these leaves are kind of the gimmick of this level. They're sometimes pretty slippery and very interesting platforms.
And catching the cycles on those is very important. Otherwise, you got to wait for it to float all the way back down. And that just wastes a lot of time. And the cycles in this level, they're not, or in this game, they're not global cycles. It's level by level. And that's going to be very important, especially as we get further on.
Now, as you saw, we got a key. This is the first instance of a key in a level, and they are usually required to open doors and such. So we'll be grabbing one here. And now, since I played this well enough, I got the leaf cycle, so I don't have to wait for it to come back up, which is what you would usually have to do. For the rest of the level, it's pretty self-explanatory. That thing I just hit there was a checkpoint, which is really handy, especially for sections later on, which we'll be using them.
Yeah, you'll see he takes this Moo here because he wants to bring it to this farther up section so he can skip this little... This is an example of where the planes sort of overlap, and you can skip a little bit of the level right there.
And another thing you'll be seeing him do a lot is taking out an enemy from earlier on in the level, so that way he can just use it right away instead of having to wait for a spawn at the point we actually want.
All right, so 2-2 is a pretty self-explanatory level. It introduces waterfalls, which if you hold the direction of the current, it makes you go pretty fast. Aside from that, there's another plane jump here and such.
Very small one. Also this upside down waterfall with some sort of story explanation that I don't really remember. But it sure looks cool.
The story of this game is actually pretty, like, sad, honestly, and I wouldn't want to spoil it for anyone.
Definitely encourage you all to play it.
Yeah, it definitely
Play it for yourselves.
has a very cheery vibe to it, but it like as it progresses, you see like many dark elements. It's very cool.
Now, Trob, through this point here, you'll just see him go, go, go because he's going to try and catch all these cycles with the geysers perfectly.
Yeah, this room flows very well if you keep the movement going. There we go, another little plane skip.
A pretty basic mechanic is grabbing moves from earlier sections and using them for later sections because it's usually faster than just grabbing the move in that section. Aside from that, we could probably fit in another donation or two.
All right. We have $10 from White Paws, who says, "Yo, Trob, I know you are partially awake, but best of luck in your run. You know that everyone from the posse is there to support you. Much love."
Thanks, guys. Oh, God, okay.
So we damage boost through these big shield moves because the shields just really get in the way. And this one here, we sneak behind it to grab it. Otherwise, it just bounces off the shield.
Coming up, we have kind of a fickle boss. The bosses in this game are honestly some of the hardest and most annoying. Some of them can just be random, and others can just be like pretty difficult. So we've got Panoff and
Mad Seedoff and Cursed Pamela.
yeah.
Mad Seedoff is going to be the little guy on top, and Cursed Pamela is the pink dolphin thing. So
Nice.
first thing he does, he tries to grab it and throw it just as she's going away to get a really quick hit. By hitting her that way, she'll resurface in the water faster and move on to the next phase. But the phase that she takes is kind of up to RNG, so we're just hoping for more opportunities to get quick shots like that first one.
And it is very deceptively difficult to get these kinds of grabs, like that one. That's very nice.
Damn it.
That one's especially a pain.
Yeah, with this, once the spike balls start coming, it really just comes down to a lot of luck with positioning.
5 cycles.
All right, that was
Nice.
great.
Pretty good. I'll take it. Now, also that sound effect, trivia, that's lower pitched on our collection. Yeah.
And you might also notice the music abruptly cutting out at the end of every level. Another nice quirk of NAMM collection.
Yeah, the emulation, there was a couple of emulation problems, but for the most part, it's like mostly the same game.
This is a really cool level, very nice music, and there are a few interesting new skips in here. We're going to see our first instance of the wall clips that we were mentioning earlier.
Now, the wall clip here will be pretty different from the rest because we're not going to go all the way through a wall, but you'll see when we get to it, and we'll talk about how that works.
So here's a little bit of backtracking, just activating a platform so you can get the move, break the box. Now we're sort of heading back to this section to go upwards.
So,
Now, sorry.
That's all right, go ahead.
Now, because the gondolas are cycle-based, that means it doesn't matter how fast you do this section, you're just going to have to wait on the platform anyways. So as long as you catch it, you're basically set.
So we just kind of get that heart there for fun to help us with the timing.
Yeah.
Make us feel like we're doing something.
Yeah. Although you have to go far enough over there to actually get the mood there to spawn though. So, yeah.
So yeah, coming up very soon is going to be that first clip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So clips in this game have a very interesting way of working. What he's going to try to do here is clip slightly into this wall so we can throw the enemy all the way across and hit a box that we're supposed to run around and get. And if he does it, first try,
nice.
Beautiful. So doing that perfectly like he did, that saves a solid 4 or 5 seconds. You know, it's a tough one to go for because if you don't get it first try, you're not really saving anything.
Yeah, now we have a very interesting one in this room because there used to be a whole series of things you would have to do in this room, sort of get a key, or get a move so you can get up to get the key. But now we can sort of just run through all this, and there is a door clip coming up.
Mm-hmm. And this door clip is much more substantial than the last one too. This is like 20 to 30 seconds, I think.
If done optimally.
If done optimally, of course. So the way clips kind of work in this, I'll see if I can explain it. When Klonoa is running into a wall, the game is tracking his position every other frame. So if he's facing to the left into a wall and the game sees, oh, nice. I'll finish clips in a second first just to explain this. He wants to carry this enemy all the way through the auto-scroller because it is going to save us another second or two afterwards because we won't need to wait for an enemy spawn.
No.
That's the tricky part about it, because Klonoa can take damage, but if the enemy gets hit, then it just pops in his hands. So that's okay, it's not a big deal, but something that optimally is the goal. But yes, so to explain clips again, the game tracks the position every other frame. It thinks that he's, if it's traction trying to go out of bounds, it just resets him in bounds again. So all the clips we do are 1 frame at a time, while also in that same frame readjusting Klonoa's stance to face forward or backwards. So the game thinks that he's standing still and never properly tracks him moving out of bounds. Therefore, it can't reset him in bounds and lets us go out.
And it's something to do with the collision of Klonoa when he's holding an enemy only. For some reason, the trick doesn't work when he's not holding an enemy.
Right. And also, for some reason, the trick only works to the left, not to the right.
Yeah, there is a task method that was recently discovered for right, but it's very fast.
It is exciting, though, because all the clips that we do now, when they were first discovered, we thought they were tasks only, and now here we are running them. So maybe one day we'll figure out how to do the right clips, too.
All right, right there, he clipped off of that gondola right there onto the other ledge so that he didn't have to wait on the gondola for the animation to end and spawn the moves faster, and that's 3-1.
Now, 3-2 is really just sort of a maze and where you go. And the main goal of the level is to activate a rising platform so that we can progress to the end of the level.
This was actually the level where right side clips were discovered. Unfortunately, even with tasks, there's not really anything we can do about it yet because part of this level is activating certain switches to get all these mechanical wooden parts moving. And if you clip, past them, the parts don't move, and then the level just can't move forward.
Like this is essentially the part of the level that we want to end up at, but after we finish all the puzzle parts to sort of get the parts moving. But yeah, it was discovered that you can get farther into the level, but there's a platform that doesn't move, so essentially it still can't progress. They're so close. And as you'll see, they introduced these enemies called boomies that are sort of on a timer. So you can throw them around wherever, and after a certain amount of time, they'll detonate.
Aside from that, not much really to this level.
Yeah, we could probably get a few donations in now at this point.
Certainly. We have $50 from Galaxy Blade, who says, "Woohoo!" for the Klonoa run.
And that right there, actually a very small few frame skip just by using the enemy to double jump instead of using the spring. Goes a tiny bit faster.
Feels so good to do.
Absolutely. Do a couple more donations now.
All right. We have $5 from Anonymous, who says, "Klonoa has been a big part of my life, so here's what little I can give for a good cause." And $20 from Logo Man, who says, "At last, Klonoa is at AGDQ. I'm so hyped for this run. And good luck to Trob."
Nice. That was
Thank you.
pretty tight cycle there. But he got it. And there we see our first triple jump.
We had some debate about whether it was double, triple, or quadruple, but it is...
Step double jump.
Yeah.
So coming up is the 3 switches we need to activate. I think they're basically just in a musical order, so...
Yeah, musical puzzle. All right, so now all the gears are moving, and essentially we'll see that the rooms before are beatable.
Yeah, if we could ever figure out some way to take an enemy with us through there, that would solve it, but there aren't really even any enemies around this part of the level, so that'd be pretty tough.
And yeah, we have to wait for this to come up.
You squeeze in a donation while we wait for this.
Sure. We have $20 from Macaroon Raccoon, who just says, "Woohoo!"
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Cool little skip there. It's faster to go sort of the unintended way around that loop. Another little waiting section.
Now, as you can see, jumping up hills is going to be kind of helpful here because it helps us get past this spike ball. So instead of having to lag behind it, we can just go ahead of it and just go through here.
Yeah, generally, running and jumping are about the same speed, but if you're going uphill like he was just there, running might be a tiny bit faster down, or jumping, I'm sorry, would be a tiny bit faster uphill. Going downhill, running tends to be faster, but it's a very minor difference overall.
So we're coming up here on a very tricky boss. Probably one of my least favorite.
Definitely the hardest in a speed run, and also just one of the most annoying, even in a casual run, though it can be pretty fun.
Yeah, the boss runs on cycles for each hit of each attack that Trob gets, so he's going to try to manipulate these moves position. Nice, so that he can damage boost here.
Hopefully get that one before it runs away. Knock it in
Nice.
there, awesome.
As you'll see, the ball just kind of awkwardly does a thing there.
Pretty much skip a cycle with that. And now, really quick, he's gonna try and grab this enemy, clip inside, and damage the boss. Perfect,
Very nice.
That's as good as that
Very
boss
nice.
can go.
Good.
All right, Vision 4-1. This level's pretty straightforward. There are 2 new skips, though, as opposed to the last speed run.
And right here, if he can get this jump in a certain angle, it'll despawn one of the enemies in this hallway. It doesn't look like we got it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make a difference. Just a fun fact.
Here's one of the wall clips right here.
So every clip, even though they're effectively the same as far as trying to get that one frame, they all have slightly different setups. Some you have to jump into and then do the one frame. Some you stand back from a little bit and then do the one frame. And this one, is this one easier on the PS2 version? Or not much of a difference?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure there is much of a difference, but it is one of the harder ones. Absolutely.
Because what made it, oh,
Nice.
perfect. And depending on the angle you go through that one, it could actually despawn these enemies. It's uncommon, but it happens. Fortunately, though, this enemy here that he needs to get across the gap won't despawn no matter what.
Watch. Yeah, watch. Nice.
Gonna have to do this a bit awkwardly since I took too much damage there.
Yeah, we
not
usually
really.
like to damage boost around here, but
It doesn't matter. We get some more health coming up on this section, so it's all good.
also a very fun skip coming up. It's not a clip, but just a very clever use of the double jump and the enemy spawns. It saves like 30 whole seconds and ends up keeping us from doing half the room here.
Yeah, it skips some annoying swinging platforms.
Also one of the coolest just in terms of how it looks. He does all these really high jumps, grabs his enemy from almost off screen, and
All right,
right to the
excellent.
end.
Very nice.
Important to note about that one too, when you're double jumping, it's also throwing the enemies down below you. And the enemies are still considered alive until they hit the ground and pop. So you want to try and aim them at the platforms and not let them go all the way down to the floor. Otherwise, it'll mess up the spawn timing.
So yeah, I guess there's not really too much to say about this level. We have a lot of fast scrolling parts. It's interesting to note that if you're holding the direction of the waterfall, when you enter these rooms, it actually goes a little bit slower than if you just don't hold any input and then afterwards.
Thank God.
That's right.
4-2 crash.
That crashed
Gang can
in
crash
practice,
there.
yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that can happen.
Not a fan of those guys. Here's one of the interesting parts where after the cutscene, you'll see Klonoa can just sort of walk through the enemies for a little bit. It gives him a slight invulnerability frame. Nice. That's
Okay.
enough.
I needed that considering my health. It could be a bit awkward to do that sometimes.
So here we try to stutter step a little bit and hopefully get that go up to the bones. It is possible to jump onto the second bone. Doesn't waste any time though to try for it even if you don't get it. Our grandpa used to live there.
Now,
Not like this.
the fourth boss is the easiest in the whole game. Basically, the goal is to destroy those 8 glowing.
So it's sort of like a
Cells,
boss on rail, so a little bit.
Yeah, it has a lot of random patterns. So I believe the colors that are remaining are the ones of the attacks that it can use. Here's one of the worst ones. It spawns this tiny enemy that's very annoying to deal with sometimes because you can't really...
Technically, this is an 8-hit boss, but if you throw the enemy right, you can get it 2 hits at a time, clear it just in 4 hits.
Now, coming up next is 5-1. It's sort of an interesting level in that you can sort of choose the only way you want to take it, as doing it in a different order doesn't lose or save time.
Yeah, so there are these, like, I don't know what to call them exactly because it's a very unique object in this game, but they're like
Kind of like
different
a ball.
colors.
Yeah.
Circular, sort of, maybe kind of spherical. Yeah, so we're just gonna start with getting the blue object, I guess we'll call it. And this one, again, it doesn't matter what order you go through, but in this case, we want to go for this one first just because it's got a clip that we use.
And
Apologize,
previously you would have to go in a door to sort of align the platform cycles, but we have this clip right here.
And there was, you could go through the door to align the cycles or just wait for the cycles. They were very close depending on what the time would be. So it's never really kind of up to personal preference which one you wanted to use, but now we don't use it at all. So for the next 2, they're pretty straightforward. You just kind of play it as quickly as possible. So we could probably just do a couple donations while he gets the red and yellow round.
Glords?
I'm sure there's a word for it, but I'll squeeze a couple in for you.
Someone will tell us.
Yeah, we'll figure it out eventually.
We have $20 from Rems, who says, have to donate during one of the games of my childhood. Brings back so many good memories. Good luck on the run, and woohoo! And $25 from JR Potential. Hello, I just left work, and it warms my heart to see Klonoa at 6 a.m. in the morning. It's such a beautiful game. And $5 from Merkaz, who says, yo, Trob, good luck, pal.
Thanks, Markaz.
So here we have a damage boost that saves a little bit of time. You're supposed to wait for the right Moo to jump over the fire, but we can sort of just get hit right through it.
It's tough to you can't really just damage through fire itself because if you do, it'll bounce you back.
Yeah.
Interesting thing to note as well with some of the damage boosts we do. It's possible to cancel part of Klonoa's damage animation while he's descending. If you shoot or hover, then you can start controlling his momentum right away instead of waiting for the animation to finish.
That comes in handy in the first boss sometimes, depending on how it operates.
Man, I love this music. So here he grabs the green Moo to sort of avoid dealing with the spiked Moo. That one can be very, very troublesome.
All right, and we're going to go for the final object here. This one has one of my favorite skips. It's not anything too technically impressive, but it does require some pretty precise timing and accuracy, and it takes advantage of the 2.5D nature of the game, which is just something that I always think is super cool whenever we get to do that. So he's going to start down the green and yellow path here, and then actually backtrack to where he came out of, and
yeah, he sort of
gets there.
Sort of activates that platform on the way down so that it'll, because it tries to come back up as quickly as possible. But
so he's going to jump off, throw the enemy into the background, hit the. So we're aiming for that checkpoint so that when he dies, instead of having to respawn somewhere else, it'll just put us right at the end of the green path. Fortunately, he did get the checkpoint here, so didn't have to backtrack too much. Just try it again.
Yeah, sometimes as Klonoa is falling, it can be very deceptive as to actually what is lined up. Nice.
There it is.
Very classic skip.
And all we do is just boost right through these guys. That's Vision 511. Ooh, just 11.
Now the next stage coming up is really cycle based. Now you want to catch a cycle early on as it lines up the cycles for the rest of the stage.
Yeah, whenever it goes to it has like a day and night cycle. So whenever it goes to the night cycle, you'll see a sort of ghost enemy show up. That can be pretty tricky to deal with. You can't really damage it or any of the other enemies during night. There's a small wall clip coming up here. It can be pretty tricky just due to the fact that you really only have till the night cycle.
I don't even get to do it. Okay.
Yeah. It's a very tricky jump to make without a double.
Yeah, so we would have tried to clip right through that pillar there, so to fall down through those platforms. Instead, we're just going to take the alternate path and walk around them like the game intends. Fortunately, again, it's just a difference of 8 seconds or so.
Mm-hmm. We sort of grab this move early so we can...
And he waits a little bit before entering here because we want to line up the cycles properly. And then, yeah, just throw the move there so we don't have to activate it manually.
All right, I think we have time for 1 or 2 donations here.
All right. We have $10 from Fun is Infinite. I've never played Klonoa or even heard of this game, and whoa, he's so cute. I support this small floppy child.
So we have a small damage boost coming up here. You're supposed to sort of snipe these guys from the other end, but we can just get hit by him.
Oh.
And that is a very rare occurrence where Klonoa decides that he wants it to be a 3-dimensional game. And if you jump very quickly off of a certain point of that, you can just sort of... that is very rare to see, though.
You throw in another donation while we get back there.
All right, $20 from Anonymous. Thanks to the runner in the audience for giving love to this game despite the human need for sleep. Woohoo!
There we go. The cage room is up next, right?
I believe so, yeah, after another elevator. But this room, this room's very important to get the cycle, because you need it for those platforms that are only available at night platforms. So coming up in this next room, it's sort of a circle room, and you're intended to run around the room and hit about 3 or 4 different switches. But it was discovered recently that there's a small gap in between the gate that you're supposed to raise with the switches, where you can actually grab this move out from here.
And it's a little more precise than it looks. That was really nice.
It's pretty hard to get that.
Because not only do we have to make sure it's lined up with the day-night cycles, but it only works as the Moo is changing directions because that's when his hitbox will intersect with the cage. And not only that, but you got to line up Klonoa not just where he's standing properly, but also make sure the camera is aligned properly behind him because that affects the angle of the shot. And we don't have actual control over the camera, so it's just something that, with a lot of practice, Trob makes look easy.
All right, that's the end of 5-2. We're coming up on a really cool boss here. This is the Joka fight, and it's sort of a circle arena. And there's it still keeps up with the day and night phases. So you'll see after Trob gets a few hits, it lines up pretty well here at the beginning. You can sort of just run along. Very nice, quick first cycle.
Yeah, and he took an extra enemy there right before they went into little cages there, because as you'll see, they're going to turn to dark enemies, which we can't attack or interact with. They just get in the way.
And they can be very unpredictable on this boss fight.
So by eliminating that one, it just gives us one less problem to worry about.
I actually got rid of it too early.
Oh, no.
But it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Some of the enemies' attacks can actually destroy them for you, so that can come kind of in handy.
So you'll see here he's kind of walking over the platforms to change all these tiles back to yellow spaces. That's really the only thing we can do to get back to the day cycle, since you can't use the enemies or anything. All right, so he's going to try a little bit of running this time.
Yeah, and we're trying to do our best to line up the shots so that Joka doesn't fly too far away, so that way we can get a hit on him faster without having to lob it across the way.
All right, this is essentially same as the last night phase. He has one new attack. It's sort of a faster spin move, and we have these purple tiles, which are a little bit harder to get rid of than the blue ones.
That just takes 3 instead of 2, essentially.
And you can see this time we do only have 2 enemies on this side. And RNG pretty much determines where they want to go. And this one just wants to be in our way.
Yeah, they just decided to stand on the purple spaces. They knew.
They said, hey, are you at GDQ right now? Let's help.
That's exactly what they thought.
And the little twitchy movement that Trob does between platforms is faster to activate them than just running all the way across.
Now, this is honestly, if you die here, this is the most punishing place to die in the whole run.
Joka decides to try a jumping method, and it didn't work. So, nice boss fight.
And that right there was the only other pre-rendered cutscene in the game, well, in the middle of the game. Otherwise, we just have the beginning and the end.
And there's also the, an intro cutscene as well, which is a compilation of all the cutscenes in the game with a few additional, sections of it added to it as well. So that's interesting to know.
So now we're in the Moon Kingdom, Vision 6-1. This kingdom doesn't really exist very much anymore. We sort of, as you'll see here, since we have the wall clip method, we can take this moo that we're really not supposed to get in this section. This one can be a little tricky as you're supposed to stand a tad bit away from the wall, but it really it saves so much time.
Yeah, because you can bring enemies under low areas, but this doorway is too low, so you're not supposed to be able to take an enemy through. We don't care, though. We're going to do it anyway.
All right, nicely done.
Yeah, this is casually. These are these are the levels when the game really starts to intensify. You start getting harder puzzles, a lot more complex, overlapping, backtracking. But it takes 5 or 6 whole minutes to get through it. And as you saw, we just pretty much are about to go right to the end after a minute.
And that's it.
Now, this is probably one of the hardest levels in the game, so I'm just going to have my commentators explain what's going on so we can make sense of it.
These last 2 levels do also have some of the best music in the game as well, so slight shame that we don't get to hear it.
Yeah.
But that's also why we've got other categories. That's exactly why we have other categories, for the music. There's 100% and also any percent glitchless now that we've found so many glitches.
But yeah, for this level, which used to be one of the longest levels in the game, now we have 2 main skips coming up. And the first one is pretty easy. It's standard wall clip. It's actually one of the easier wall clips in the game because you can almost get Klonoa in the right position before even starting the frame taps here as the camera's turning.
He's going to try to clip through the wall here and then jump up right there. Perfect.
Nice. And then this is a pretty tricky room. You have to jump down here to this 3rd platform so that the red moo up here will spawn. Oh man, those moos are scary. And this red moo, excellent,
wow.
First try.
That is one of the hardest tricks to pull off.
That is, the moo descends very quickly, so you have to really get that timing down right or else it'll just fall a little bit too early or late, but that was perfect. Now we're coming up on a pretty RNG-dependent boss. He has 3 cycles. For the first cycle, he's going to throw down all these moves, and we want to try to get 7 hits on him, so that we can get. If we get 8 hits on him, it'll skip to the 3rd phase, which we don't really want.
Yeah, because then we end up watching a whole bunch of animations that just waste time.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to get at least 4 hits, but ideally 7 to give us the best, the fastest way through.
And then we just hope for the right move positioning on the 2nd cycle so that we can skip the 3rd one.
I'll try a 5 cycle.
So yeah, by going through that warp portal there, it skips his whole animation transformation sequence into the next phase. So even though it does a little bit of extra running, it saves a little extra time in the end.
All right, so here we're just gonna wait for the move positioning. Nice.
Oh,
you got
beautiful.
it, just barely. Skip the 3rd cycle.
Now, coming up as the final boss, it's pretty simple. Like, it doesn't really deviate, like, too much from a casual playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So, this will be a good time for donations, if there's any.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely there are. We have $5 from May. Klonoa is one of my favorite series, and seeing it at AGDQ makes me so happy. Woohoo! $10 from Fens. I can't not donate during my favorite platforming series. Klonoa is adorable, and speedruns of his game are great. Good luck on the run.
So you can see, basically with this boss, we're just trying to throw the moves into the cannons manned by all the friends we made along the way. And once that's loaded up, they shoot, they take us into the next phase. But yeah, as Trob said, not really any strats to this. It's just kind of play at your best. So we can do some more donations.
Sure. $20 from Mumpy Bear. Man, Klonoa brings back good memories. Glad to see it being run. $5 from Leo Alex 50. Hi guys, just had to see Trob smashing Klonoa live on AGDQ. Here's $5 and good luck, my dude.
Thanks, Leo.
All right, so that's the first phase done.
Now, at the beginning of the 2nd phase, we're going to intentionally death abuse because it's faster than waiting for the animation that plays.
So yeah, Klonoa looks at this guy. He's like, nope, no thank you. Don't want to have to deal with this guy.
And yeah, then this jumps us right back into the action, though, so we don't have to wait for any more animations.
The diamonds sort of spawn a little bit quicker there. So this phase is pretty basic. You just have to wait for the platform to tilt up and down, shoot the 4 diamonds. And then there's sort of a small 2nd phase to this phase where there's 1 diamond that moves around.
Probably do another donation.
All right. $15 from El Chrono. Klonoa is one of my favorite games, so of course I had to forego sleep and watch this run live. That ending still gives me all the feels.
Oh yeah.
I think probably we all fell in love with this game before we started running it, just because of just how the ending goes.
It just has such a charm to it. All right, so here for the last phase of the game, we want to jump across these platforms. Pretty much just hold right, sort of. And as we grab these moves, we want to do the double jump so that they land in the cannons as sort of the attack charge.
Otherwise, it's kind of just very similar to the first phase, just looks a little different because we're used jumping instead of throwing. Maybe one more quick donation.
All right. $20 from Quill Sparks. Klonoa is such a great game. What else is there to say but woohoo?
All right, so the last cannon's coming up, but time will be as soon as the fire part of the life ball in the corner shatters. The screen will go white, and the life bar will shatter. So not quite. All right, it's coming up, and time.
So I guess I'll just do a few shout-outs for this run. I want to give thanks to all the people in the Pawsey who have become like my main friends throughout the years. I couldn't have gone here without you. And that also applies to the people who couldn't make it here today. So thanks. If you're watching, thank you for that.
Shoutouts to a lot of the Klonoa runners. We have Elsie's Bountier was a huge proponent to finding a lot of these skips, as I mentioned earlier. Just came in, really found a lot of cool stuff. A few Japanese runners, Harutomo, Agni, just really cool people, really pushing this game as far as it can go.
Yeah, shout out to Pico as well. They found the methods that we use for those big skips in 6-1 and why we don't play those levels at all anymore.
Skip so many good tunes. It's sad.
Yeah, that's Klonoa Door to Phantomile. Just got a big cutscene here now. And
He's sad.
it's okay. We'll stop once it's happy and just pretend that's it.
Yeah. Orb. I'll join in on that.
That's the word we were looking for.
We found it.
Hupo was the orb all along.
Then proceeds to float terribly slow. Come on, you can do it. You can make it. Yes. Yes. Yeah. He made it.
So yeah, I think we'll call it there.
And then they have a nice happy day and nothing else happens. Just
Are we gonna do this?
Give it up for Trob. That was a fantastic run. And the hits don't stop coming, friends. Coming up next, we have Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal being run by Zem. You definitely don't want to miss that one. But in the interim, how about we just jump right back into some donations? We have $10 from Gareth, who just says, "Take my money." Well, we won't, but the PCF will, and do some great work with it. $20 from Yoso. "Loving this event, been recommending it to as many people as I can. Cheers to everyone that makes it possible." All right, and before we do any more of those, I'm going to throw it on over to the interview team to talk a little bit to CScottyW.
morning. KungFuFruitcup here, hanging out with CScottyW, who is getting ready to do his Metroid Fusion run. How you doing this morning?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So your run is super exciting coming up. I hear there's a pretty big difference between the game because it's been run at GDQs before, but now there's a little bit of a difference between that and what's been updated.
So very recently found is this huge glitch at the very end that's going to allow us to skip about a third of the end game.
A third, that's a
third.
lot.
Yeah.
Do you have like a general percentage?
33%.
Oh, you said end game. I wasn't sure if there was a more specific part.
Yeah, it's just all of the end. It's just you take the 2/3 and you cut off the very last.
Just the whole last part.
The whole last part.
Oh, that's crazy. Man, and how recently was that discovered?
Last April.
April. So it's
Yeah.
been around for a little while.
It's been around for a little bit too early to be shown at SGDQ, but
Makes
still,
sense. So now is the time to showcase it.
Now's the time.
Exactly.
First time in a big marathon.
Yeah, there you go. So I hear that you've also been interested in more other Metroid games,
Sure.
and I know you've played a little bit of Celeste lately. So what makes you more interested in 2D platformers, just in a speedrun sense?
I just like more the different optimizations to 3D platformers, maybe. There's more, you can do more precise things with the 2D thing than you can with the 3D thing, and it just feels a lot more consistent to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's almost more fluid in certain ways.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, better optimization. But with this run, what do you think with Metroid Fusion coming up? What would you say is the easiest thing that you could do in a run? Let's say that if somebody wants to get into the run for the first time.
The movement isn't really too difficult. You can have the movement as easy or as difficult as you want it to be. There's not much that's required from the player by the game intentionally, by the developers.
Okay, so it's just pretty straightforward.
It's really straightforward, and more optimized movement is much more difficult and can lose you time if you're not very used to it.
Right.
But if you just take it safe with everything, you can still get a pretty nice time.
Yeah, that's great. So it seems like, I would say aside from the big glitch, you would say it's just pretty straightforward. You wouldn't have too much trouble getting into it.
Oh yeah,
Seems like you have a good community as well around that.
Oh yeah, we've got you can find our Discord server on speedrun.com, and we've got a bunch of people who are willing to get you started in the game.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. So make sure to check that out if you have any interest in this run and other Metroid games, I'm sure as well. And then along with the easiest stuff, what would you say is one of the most difficult things in this run?
So the more difficult things that you're going to be finding is the boss fights. They're very difficult to optimize. There's a lot of getting right up in their face to do as much damage as possible in the shortest amount of time possible.
Do you have any kind of frame specific events you have to do?
There are a few, but there's not very many, and they're not very difficult to do.
Okay.
There's some tight things, but they're not too bad.
Right, I got you. Okay, I have my own little question to throw in is, do you then play Samus when you're playing Smash?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, but Samus isn't your main?
No, Samus is not my.
So why not?
I prefer the more heavy-hitting characters to the faster ones.
That's fair. I guess I'm more predictable with my choices, but I don't know. I thought it would be interesting to throw that in there. Yeah. Well, we're really excited to see your run coming up very shortly. It's going to be great, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
So in the meantime, I think we're going to be going over to Sent for some prizes. Sent? Uh-oh. Hey, hang on. Here, you might want to like hand him this. See if you can help wake him up. Oh. There we go. Good morning.
Where am I?
Are you ready? You got some prizes.
Prizes, yeah.
Prizes.
Right.
That's your whole thing.
Yeah, delicious, wonderful. Let's talk about prizes, guys.
So we have a couple of wonderful prizes this morning that you guys can get your donations in for. They're going to be going from now until the end of Pokemon Gold. One of them is an unmuted microphone. An unmuted microphone, amazing prize. Love it, highly recommend it. Can't donate enough for it, frankly. But guys, we have all kinds of great stuff. So from our friend Ginger Kitty Art, we have these beautiful Evolution pillow buddies. Look, they're little pillows. You know, you can scrunch them up, and they have a little Velcro strap so they stand up a little bit. Or you can take it off, and then they just become like flat pillow you can lie on.
They look so comfy.
They're adorable. You know, you get Eevee, you get a Jolteon, you get a Flareon, and backstage we also have a Sylveon, a Glaceon, and a Leafeon. So I mean, you almost get the entire Eevee family here.
Nice.
The adorable group of little pillows. Put them down right here.
I mean, you could just hand them to me and I'll just kind of...
I mean, they are super comfortable. I don't doubt that that would work out pretty well.
It was worth a shot.
Guys, those are a $20 minimum donation, like I said, from now until the end of Pokemon Gold. So, hey, get those donations in. From our good friend Kari Fry, we have the beautiful Field Guide to Kanto. It's just a wonderful little book containing all of her illustrations of different Pokemon. I think we have the Pidgey line here on the page that I've randomly opened to. Love her work. You got plenty of facts about the Pokemon on one side. You got a beautiful picture, hand-drawn by Kari on the other. Super cool. $5 minimum donation for now until the end of Pokemon Gold. And as I always have to point out with Kari's books, not only do they have beautiful covers to begin with, but the dust jacket doubles as a poster. So, I mean, in this case, you get the original 151, and I'm holding this upside down. That's just par for the course at this point.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, it's fine. Most Pokemon, as it turns out, look perfectly fine upside down. You just can't tell. You can't tell at all. It's perfectly fine. So, moving on from our good friend Star Salts, we have this beautiful little Klonoa charm. Yeah, just hold it up here. Try and stabilize it for the camera. I think Malachite said it best during the Klonoa run we just saw, that Klonoa is the best floppy-eared boy. And frankly, I have to agree. $5 minimum donation for now until the end of Pokemon. It's adorable. You can stick it on your phone. You can stick it on anything. You got a keychain for it. Speaking of adorable Klonoa, from our great friend Ellen Kramer, we have this beautiful Klonoa plushie here, like handmade. He's super adorable. You got his little collar here. You got his hat. You got his big floppy ears he grabs things with. Love it. Guys, I believe this is a $20 minimum donation for now until the end of Pokemon Gold, but you're going to want to go and check the tracker for exact amounts on that. Oh, there, I'll just pass them down to you, Kung Fu.
I would love to hold on to it.
I figured you would love to hold Klonoa. And right behind Kung Fu, we have a beautiful little Magikarp hat sent to us by Inspiring Badger Cosplay. Just an adorable Magikarp you can wear on your head. I'm not sure where else you would need a Magikarp. The head seems like the best place. Right now, he's devouring Mario. You got to be careful about that. Magikarp are vicious. They get a bad rep from the show. Don't mess with them. They'll get you. $10 minimum donation from now until the end of Pokemon Gold. I'm going to have to reach over here to get this beautiful Metroid 1986 style poster print. This is actually based off of a piece of artwork back from the release of the original Metroid. I mean, it's so good. It's from Bags Brothers Art. It looks like it's just ripped right out of a comic book.
For sure.
I mean, it comes in this beautiful frame. I don't know how this is only a $15 minimum donation, but it's only a $15 minimum donation. I mean, this thing is amazing. Scotty, what do you think? What do you think about Samus here?
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up from Scotty, guys. You heard the man who is running Fusion. You definitely want to get $15 in to get this beautiful painting. We also have this lovely little Pokemon cross stitch from our friend Julia Z. It just says home sweet home. It's got your home in Pallet Town. It's adorable.
Cute.
Another $15 minimum donation for now until the end of Pokemon Gold. You guys are definitely going to want to check it out. Guys, we have so many just absolutely amazing prizes coming up for you this block this morning from now until the end of Pokemon Gold. So what I want you to do is I want you to head over to gamesdonequick.com. I want you to check out the tracker because it's going to have all the information that you need about upcoming speedruns, prizes, incentives, everything you're looking at. Speaking of incentives, I think we're only $30,000 or $40,000 off of seeing TaskBot play Super Scribblenauts a little later tonight.
Oh, I definitely need to see some Scribblenauts.
You guys, I had the opportunity. Dwango showed me a little sneak preview of it yesterday. It's ridiculous. If you guys, loved the Brain Age task they did a few years ago, you're really going to love the shenanigans they get away with in Super Scribblenauts. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
Task anything is amazing.
And, there's a fun correlation there. Not only are we about, 40,000 away from getting that run into the marathon, we're about 40,000 away from raising $1 million so far for PCF. I'm not saying maybe both of those goals could be hit at the same time, but, I'm just saying that'd be pretty cool, right?
Yeah. You don't want to just say it, but I mean, if it happened, it would be amazing.
It'd be pretty amazing. Now, guys, before we go, one last thing. I always got to shout it out just because it is so dang cool. We have this beautiful Hylian shield and Master Sword. They're one-to-one replicas from the Sword and Shield from Breath of the Wild. Full metal, sent to us by our good friends over at Heroic Replicas. They're absolutely amazing. There are a $250 minimum donation as a set. But that is cumulative throughout the event. So, I mean, hey, you're going to want to get those donations in now, maybe get a little in now, maybe get a little in later. Before you know it, you're going to be entered to win these one-of-a-kind replicas. Huge shout-outs again to the guys at Heroic Replicas for sending this over our way. And you know what? I think that's going to be just about it for us. Kung Fu, Scotty, thank you guys so much for that wonderful interview. And we're going to throw it back up the front as we get ready for Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal with Zem.
Let me tell you, I actually want all those prizes. Those are fantastic. Jumping back to just a few more donations before we get this rolling. We have $25 from DJ Mertza, first-time donator. Hopefully there's more to come. Love the runs every year. Keep it up. Oops. $50 from Vitor, who just says, good morning. Good morning to you too, Vitor. We have $25 from Chaos Severa, who says, 25 more daughters for you. Let's get you another huge family this year. Please no, my family's big enough. $20 from Kataxis. Not even a total network rebuild of one of my call centers will prevent me from catching the last few days of this amazing event. Vault 228 thanks you. $25 from Anonymous. Everyone should donate for the Super Scribblenauts task because it'll make you laugh your adjectives off. I'm no doctor, but I can imagine that's... I'm not going to finish that sentence. $10 from Roz54. Good morning from the UK. Huge shout out to the techs who work tirelessly behind the scenes to make the event the success it is. $20 from MaxiPause. Always a pleasure watching games done quick, not only for the entertaining speedruns and unique variety of games, but also for the amazing causes it all goes towards. Keep up the awesome work, guys. $25 from Breezy112. Gotta go fast, and nothing goes faster than TaskBot. $25 from Dicky, who says, long-time watcher, first-time donor. Shout out to all the runners during the graveyard shift. You're helping lower the productivity of nerds all across Europe, and for that, I salute you. $5 from Chanuke, who has a little bit of mathematics for us. If only about 7,500 people also donate $5, we got the million. We can do it, chat.